G'day guys, how are we? Welcome to Talking Boxing. It is Monday, November 27th, 2023. And firstly, I have to apologise to the ones watching this live, that is that I have come unprepared tonight. I had a big day. I've literally got home, had a quick workout, jumped in the shower, jumped out, and I've literally had about 3 minutes to get organised. So I haven't had any chance to put a reminder up on YouTube, which is probably why we probably haven't got any viewers at the moment, but I'm sure we'll get a few more as people may come on board. But if we don't, it's going to be a very short-lived program. But again, welcome to the show. It's our last show for 2023. We'll be back, obviously, bigger and better next year. One thing I am going to do next year, I've had a couple of suggestions with different things, and I'm going to give everyone the opportunity to put in questions ahead of time. We've had a few people listen to this on Spotify or wherever it is on as a podcast. So if you're listening on the podcast from next year, you can send me a direct, is it a DM or direct message, whatever the hell they call it these days, and I'll answer any questions that you have on the show. So we're starting to get a few in the chat at the moment. If you're new here, then the way it works is, as it says there, it's Talking Boxing. Put a question or comment, whatever you might want to put in there, and we'll talk about that and anything else that might come up along the way. So obviously this week we're going to be talking about the Nikita Tszyu fight. I had a lot of comments about that. The demolition of Dylan Biggs. It was a great night of boxing. I'm really interested to hear your thoughts as far as the whole card. I think everyone's had an opinion on the main event and all the things that led up to the fight and the show. So I'll have a quick recap of that. I'm sure you guys have got some comments about the way it unfolded. Was it worth the money? What did you think of the performance of Nikita Tszyu? What did you think of the performance of Dylan Biggs? Isaac Harmer was the other one on there. So yeah, so plenty of things to talk about. Of course, we had the Charlo, what was it, the weekend? Sorry, Benavidez and Andrade, and Charlo and Benavidez on the undercard as well. So I was pretty impressed with that. And also we had the all-women's fight in Ireland. I watched that yesterday morning. What an event that was. Katie Taylor, Chantel Cameron. Awesome day of boxing. Sky Nicholson, obviously, on there as well. So we'll get started into the comments, guys. As I said, it might take a little bit of a bit longer than normal for everyone to sort of come on because I didn't put up any notification at all. Normally, I put the link up to the show and everything like that. So everyone's going to have to find their way onto the show. So Mitch Cook's here. How are you, Mitch? Looks like you've got a couple of comments in there. Let's get started with you. Evening. Not sure what it looked like on TV. But from the event, I was pretty disappointed. Biggs' corner didn't stop the fight earlier. Took a lot of unnecessary punishment for a 21-year-old. Yeah, he did, didn't he, Mitch? I'm not sure. I know in the corner, I think Stevie Spark was really trying to get Dylan Biggs up. But I'm with you. I thought after the fourth round, I thought he was done. And that's what really, well, I was going to say it didn't surprise me. Look, a lot of people out there, and we did a poll on Instagram about it, 50-50 it was. I couldn't believe that half the people thought that Dylan Biggs would actually beat Nikita Tszyu. I think I had Nikita by 7th or 8th round stoppage, whatever it was. I'm not sure, was it 5th or 6th? I think it was the 5th round, actually. But, yeah, I'm with you, mate. After that 4th round, I think they would have been well within the rights to call it off. I don't think, I'm not going to jump to conclusions. I've got a feeling that Dylan Biggs wanted to be anywhere other than in the ring with Nikita after that 4th round. And as I said in the preview and review of it as well, a good mate Nick Noonanboy, he always leads with this. It's about levels, and this was a classic case. And I just think, I think after the 4th round, I think it was blatantly obvious to everyone that Nikita was a couple of levels above Dylan, and that's no disrespect to Dylan Biggs, by the way. He is where he is, and you say there's a 21-year-old kid, first really big fight that he's had. Under the lights, he can do a lot of things to a lot of people, and I thought he actually did okay. Well, obviously he started very well, didn't he? But I think it was a bit of a red rag to the bull in the end because Nikita Tszyu sprung into action. I think he said after the fight that he knew he was 2 points behind straight off the bat, so I had to get into it, and into it he did. But I'm with you, mate. I think they could have easily called it off after the 4th round. I don't think anyone would have thought any less of Dylan Biggs. I'm not sure whether it was himself wanted to come out, or his corner sort of pushed him out. But the body language after the 4th round wasn't great, if you ask me. And having been in the situation, well, obviously being a fighter myself, I understand what it's like when. And I only used to fight 3-rounders, by the way, not 10 rounds like these guys fight. But I can understand when he's overmatched, he's getting overpowered, he's exhausted. And as you say, there's a 21-year-old kid. I don't think we would have thought any less. But he'll be back, I'm sure, bigger and better than ever. And you're right there, Mitch, still a whole career ahead of him, yeah. And I think he's a type of kid, I've never met Dylan, but from what I've seen of him on social media and TV and everything else, he seems a really down-to-earth type of kid. And I think he will really, I was going to say take it on the chin, but that's we can't probably say that in the boxing because he did it literally, of course. But I just think he will take it in his stride. He's obviously got the hand that he needs to get looked at, or it's been operated on. So he needs to get over that, get back into the swing of things, and I'm sure he will be back. And I think he'll take it as a learning curve, I think. And I'd be surprised if he over damaged him going forward, because Nikita Tszyu's a once, I won't say once in a generation, but he's that type of kid that comes, or man that comes along very, very rarely. The whole family we know are freaks, I think I don't think he should take it as a slight on his career and let him get it down, because Nikita Tszyu's going to do that to a lot of people. Mitch again, what do we got there, mate? I thought the card was one of the best boxing displays from No Limit. Head to toe all year in the end. They had a big year, didn't they? I'm not quite sure how many shows they put on in the end. There was 4 events, 4 pay-per-views. And I think there was the 5 Wednesday night shows. So it's a big year for them, and they've obviously got one more to come. And I didn't actually mention in my review the other, the weekly roundup, if I can get that out. Who is it? Sam Goodman is fighting. Actually, I'll put that. I've got BoxRec up at the moment. I'll see if it's actually on BoxRec at the moment. But he did announce it in the interview, didn't he, Sam Goodman? There it is there. Okay, so it is the Star in Sydney on Friday, December 15th. I might bring you guys into this so you can have a quick look as well. So Sam Goodman, Zhong Li. So Zhong Li is 19-0. 7 knockouts. So not a big puncher, so that's okay. All his fights so far have been in China. Geez, Wuhan back in September. So obviously Wuhan's getting back on track after a rough few years, isn't it? Look, not too bad. Look, at the end of the day, it's a good way to finish off for Sam Goodman. A 19-0 opponent. So you got Liam Wilson against Jackson John England. That for me is the fight that I really want to see. I'm probably a little bit biased, and I love seeing elite Aussies fighting other elite Aussies. It's just, like most countries like to see their countrymen fight each other. And Jackson John England will give Liam Wilson a good fight. He's obviously coming off the win over Nathaniel May. Liam Wilson, when was his last fight? He was back in August, so only recently as well. So this will be his 3rd fight for the year. So this is what they need to do. 3 fights a year. These guys, obviously, he fought Navarrete earlier in the year. So he beat Carlos Maria Alanis in August. So a good way to finish off for him. And Liam Wilson looking to get back on the winners list. Well, back on the elite winners list, that is. So I'm sure Jackson John England will be a great opponent for him to finish the year off. And what's that one there? Vegas Larfield. He's going to fight Liam Pope. So big fan of Vegas Larfield. I haven't really seen a lot of Liam Pope, except might have been the loss, actually, that he had against Eric Sokolov, the Viking. Actually spoke to Steve Dalla today, and Eric was in the background. So I think he's retired now, which is really surprising, Eric, because he looked like he showed a bit. But anyway, so he's coming off that win over Jack Tresida only, was it last week or the week before? Last month. Sorry, I'll take that back. So that will be at the Star. So interestingly, that is not a pay-per-view. It was going to be. Now it's just a Friday night fight, which I think is what we all want to see. And I think the viewership of that will be massive. What is it, a week and a bit before Christmas? So it should be good. I'll just come out of that there. All right. What are we? Hang on. I'll just go back a little bit there. Sorry, guys. So back to the card itself. So I thought the card was one of the best boxing displays with No Limit. Yeah, head to toe. Yeah. So I agree with you there, Mitch. I thought it was a look. We're all going to probably agree to disagree whether it was worth $60. I, for one, think in the scheme of things, $60 is not that much to pay for sitting in your own home, watching it, live, elite boxing. I understand that the overseas fights cost less and sometimes they're free. The Benavidez Andrade fight yesterday was free, and I understand that. But I think I've explained on here before, the economics of it all. They need to charge this amount of money to make it work. We're not America that just puts on a show and you might get 50 to 100,000 views. We're only 25 million people here, so I understand they've got to recoup the money. We went over this last week, so I won't go over it again. But I'm with you there, Mitch. I thought it was a really good night of boxing. All right, I don't bite. I think you've been on before here, haven't you, mate? So hi to you too. What do you think of people saying Canelo is going to fight Munguia next and not Benavidez? Yeah, well, just on that, I don't bite. I've probably been a bit of a critic of Benavidez over the journey. If you watch this show regularly, you'll know that I haven't been a big rap of Benavidez. I thought he's actually been overrated. But I must admit, yesterday I was very, very impressed. He put the punches together very, very well. He showed, I don't know, it was just the opponent, but he looked faster than he normally does. His stamina looked a lot better. I know Andrade was okay early, but once Benavidez kicked into gear, he was very, very impressive. And I think if that type of Benavidez turns up against Canelo, we might have a fight. But in response to that question there, mate, I would be disappointed if Canelo doesn't fight Benavidez. Actually, I won't be disappointed. I wouldn't mind probably seeing this in September. Give these guys one more fight to really get the momentum going. I think, me included, started to take notice more of Benavidez. I know he's had a lot of fans out there. He's been, a two-time world champion. He lost it for different reasons. But, if it's Munguia, that's still a risky fight for Canelo. Munguia hasn't been active, of course. But, I'm not too against letting these guys have one more fight to have a super fight in September next year. I think that is the fight in boxing. And as I said, I haven't really been a big advocate of really wanting that fight, but now I'm pretty keen. And I think that's the fight of 2024. So I haven't got a problem with Canelo fighting someone. I think Munguia might be a bit risky, although his style probably suits Canelo. Benavidez can maybe get another defense of his interim title early next year, or early to mid next year, and in September, Canelo and Benavidez can have a super fight. So I think it's not the time. It's all about timing, isn't it? And I think these two guys, Canelo and Benavidez, I think now everyone now knows Benavidez. I know you could probably argue that was the fight before this with Caleb Plant, but I think now such an impressive performance. I think September next year is the go, and I've got no dramas with either of them having a fight there. I don't bite. You got another question there. What else does David have to do to earn a fight? Well, not much. I think he's done everything he needs to now. Now it's just a matter of the timing aspect. It's just making it right. And it's only my gut feel. I think September next year is the time that this fight will be at its peak. Now, I know we run the risk of one of these guys losing. I understand that and I get it. But I wouldn't mind. I just think one more fight. This fight will be at fever pitch. And I just think May might be just a little bit early. And I just think Canelo is going to make him wait just because he's Canelo. And I think he just wants that one more fight. And I know he said he's got 3 or 4 more years in him, Canelo, or maybe even 5. I think he might only have a couple. Think of the big fights that he has. He's got Benavidez and maybe Crawford if he goes up. And that's sort of about it. I know he could go, to 175. I don't want to see him go to 175. He's too small, is Canelo. I would like him to maybe, have one fight in May, Benavidez after that, and maybe Crawford after that. But who knows? If Crawford beats Spence again, and Spencer's actually come out, I think, in the last week and said he's got 2 fights left. Crawford, I mean. He said he's got the Spence fight, and he wants Canelo. So, maybe Canelo looks at it and goes, okay, well, maybe I have to do Benavidez in May and Crawford in September. I don't know how it's all going to work, but it's interesting. If Crawford comes calling and says, I've got 2 more fights, Spence and then Canelo, and Canelo has Benavidez or Crawford in front of him. Who's he going to fight? I've got a feeling he'll go for the smaller man, but I suppose time will tell. Mitch, very keen for Jackson, England, and Liam Wilson. Interesting matchup of England dancing around the ring with Wilson hunting him down with that left hook. He's got that really dangerous left hook, hasn't he, Mitch? I think it's a really good fight. I think Jackson, England was very impressive against Nathaniel May. I thought Nathaniel May would beat Jackson, England, but he impressed me on the day. And he'll be tough and hard for Liam Wilson. But look, if I'm being brutally honest, I think Liam Wilson wins the fight comfortably. again, it's all just about levels, and I see Liam Wilson at the world level. I'm just not quite sure whether Jackson England's there yet. He has potential to maybe be there, or I don't know. I just think Nathaniel maybe can't, even though it was an impressive performance by Jackson England, I think Nathaniel's probably seen his best days, had some obviously issues outside the ring. And I just think that you might see Jackson England be tough for the first 2, 3, 4 rounds. And I think you'll see the class of Liam Wilson come to the fore. And I'm not sure whether he can stop England. And if he does, it might be late. But I wouldn't say I wouldn't sort of doubt seeing Liam Wilson win a very clear-cut decision. So I just think we've seen last week with Nikita and Dylan Biggs, we've seen it a fair bit recently where you think we're going to get a good fight, and just the elite fighters just have a way of just going past the guys that are on the shelf below them. I just think as good as Jackson England was, I just see Liam Wilson just being far too good for him, but we'll see. I don't bite. Jermall Charlo looked sluggish, but for being 2.5 years off, I didn't think it was terrible. Do you see maybe a Jermall versus Plant fight next, or something else for Jermall? Yeah, good point. Now, it's interesting to see what he's going to do, Jermall. I actually thought he looked okay for being out of the ring for 2.5 years. I thought he was okay. Benavidez, again, you talk about levels, talked it up, and I think a lot of people thought Benavidez might actually beat Charlo. But again, Charlo's at his best is an elite fighter. That's just the way it is, where Benavidez isn't. So, yeah, he's tough, his game, everything else, but he hasn't really beaten a really elite fighter, and Jermall Charlo showed him, again, the level in class. I was actually impressed with Jermall. The one thing that does still concern me about Jermall Charlo is his mental well-being. I think if you've seen him interviewed after the fight, I was a little bit disturbed by the way he spoke. He's not in a good place at the moment, which surprised me about how well he actually fought. Now, I'm not sure whether he was maybe a little bit pensive, a little bit held back, a little bit cautious, or whatever you might want to call it with the interviewer. Maybe he was just a little bit pissed at getting booed, and maybe a bit of the negative press, and he was just a little bit holding back a little bit. But just the way he spoke and his body language, he does seem a little bit broken still to me, and I'm hoping he comes out of it. He's too good a fighter to do that. And hopefully being back in the ring will do enormous amounts for his mental well-being and his mental health. I hope that's the case. But I actually thought, all things considered, I thought he fought very well. I don't bite, and looked very, very good. And does make sense, doesn't it? Jermall versus Caleb Plant. He was ringside. Of course, these two guys have got a little bit of history, haven't they? With what happened earlier in the year with the slap. So I'd like to see that. I think from what I saw yesterday, Jermall, I'm sure he'll obviously improve with each fight. I think Jermall that we saw yesterday can beat Plant no problem. I really do. I think he should probably go up to that 168-pound limit. Forget about weight being an issue. If he has got some issues going on outside the ring, well, why should weight be part of that? And obviously, he didn't make weight anyway, so maybe I just think he should say, okay, I'm going to go to 168, be big, be strong, and take Plant on. And I think he can beat Caleb Plant. I really do. But to answer your question there, I don't bite. I thought he was impressive considering he's been out of the ring for so long. Bill Hack. All right, this is on the Nikita Dylan Biggs fight. I thought the ref was unfair. Ref warned Dylan for wrestling, but what about the fourth round? Nikita held Dylan's head with right hand and hit him about 10 times with the left, and that changed the fight, just my opinion. Yeah, it's an interesting one, Bill. Look, the rules do state that if you've got a hand free, you're allowed to punch, but where you're allowed to punch is the question in this matter. Now, I remember on the nights thinking, geez, he's letting Nikita get away with, he's pretty much, I don't think he was on the back of the head, but he was pretty close. Now, I think he should have probably, what the referee should have done at that stage is break the fighters up, warned Dylan Biggs for holding, but also warned Nikita Tszyu for hitting on the back of the head or clubbing him. When I think the definition of it, Bill, is that when they say you've got one hand, you can continue to punch. I just think that means maybe from front on, not on the side or the back of the head. It's a little bit of a complicated one. I'm not sure the exact ruling, except for the fact that if you have a hand free, you hear them say it sometimes in the introductions. They definitely say it, excuse me, in the change rooms, that if you've got a hand free, you can continue to punch. But it's just the way that Nikita was punching. It could have been knocked on the head very easily. Simply pull him up. Dylan, don't hold. Nikita, don't hit on the back of the head, and that would have probably solved the issue. But Nikita was allowed to get away with it, so. Yeah, I'm sort of with you there, man. And it wasn't just once or twice. He was pretty much clubbing him. So it depends on how the referee interprets the rules. But I'm with you. I do remember that instance you're talking about there. I remember thinking, geez, the referee's sort of letting Nikita get away with it. Having said that, I don't think Dylan held a lot after that. And I don't think Nikita did it after, much, further in the fight anyway. I'm not quite sure that it changed the fight, Bill. I think that the minute or the second that Nikita Tszyu hit the deck, by the look in his eyes, that's the moment that the fight changed. Because from there on, Nikita Tszyu, it was just like, okay, let's go. And it was just one-way traffic after that. And I don't think that instance there, as long as, maybe there was some fouls involved with it, or it was a foul what Nikita was doing, but I just don't think it was enough to change the fight. So I can sort of see both aspects of it. The other thing that happened right at the end, if you have a good look, is that I'm pretty sure that Dylan Biggs was down, and I'm pretty sure Nikita Tszyu might have given him one while he was on the ground, on his knees, because I'm sure, from memory, I remember seeing Dylan Biggs' corner jump up and yell at the referee about it. I mean, that was, hey, you're grasping at straws at that stage if you want the referee to take some points off or disqualify Nikita Tszyu after he's absolutely battered Dylan Biggs around the ring for 4 rounds. But as I said, mate, I don't think it changed the fight, but I think you're right that Nikita did get away with a couple of things. Although it was only in that one instance. After that, I think it was a pretty clean fight. I don't bite. I had some extra coin to buy the pay-per-view, but it was sad that during the Matias versus Ergashev fight, barely anybody was in the crowd. They all came in for the co and main event. I'll tell you what, on that fight there with the Matias and Ergashev fight, I must admit that in the first round, I thought, this Ergashev, holy shit, this guy can fight. He looked sharp. He looked powerful. And I remember commenting as the fight went on, when Matias got back into the fight, he took all sorts of punishment in the first round, but he didn't panic. He had the hands up. He didn't throw a lot of punches. I think he knew that Ergashev was very dangerous early, was very sharp, and I think he was just biding his time. And I remember in the second, third, fourth round, I remember saying to my wife, we were sitting there watching, and I said, see, that there is the difference between the pros and the amateurs. This guy, I'm sure, would have been a gun amateur for 3 rounds, super sharp, razor sharp combinations and reflexes, and he would have got away with pure ability. That guy would have won a lot of amateur fights, I've got no doubt. But what happens with the pros, that's good for 3 rounds. Then after that, he starts to wind down. Matias starts to warm up, gets into the fight, starts to get his range a little bit. Ergashev, of course, is not as sharp as he was early in the fight. He comes back just to the pack a little bit with Matias. Then, of course, conditioning comes into it. Game plan comes into it. Heart comes into it. All sorts of things come into it. And that's the difference. The reason why you see some good amateurs who don't make good pros, and some good, some good amateurs that don't make good pros, and some bad amateurs that actually excel in the pros. So, but having said that, I was really impressed with Matias. I know he called out Teofimo Lopez after that, but I'm with you. I really hope or wish there was a lot more people to see that, because it was a really quality fight. And I think Matias actually showed that he's going to take some beating as well, and who knows what he might be able to deliver down the track as well. What is it? Is the IBF? I think it is. Has he got the IBF? I think that's the title. I can't remember which one it was, but either way, he's got one of the belts. All right. Another one about that fight. Everything Matias throws looks like it hurts. Yeah, he's just one of those guys. You know what he reminded me a little bit of there, mate? He's a little bit of a Zuma Nelson back in the day. Hands nice and high, walked forward, but lets you do all the punching and just takes him on the elbows and the gloves and just keeps coming and pressure. And when he's in close, he rips, he hooks, he uppercuts, he does everything just to keep you honest. And as the fight goes on, he chops you down. And then this was, I think they said after this, it was the 5th or 6th consecutive retirement in the corner. And that was the other thing I was going to say about Ergashev. He quit. Now, he went back to the corner. Now, classic case of, geez, just because you have everything not your own way, mate, you're going to quit. There was absolutely no reason for him to retire, except for the fact that I think he knew that Matias was just getting warmed up. He was spent. I think he was not used to being out of his comfort zone. And this is what happens to a lot of these type of fighters. If you let them fight at their own pace, They'll chop you up all night and they won't get tired. What Matias did is took him out of that comfort zone. So when he was trying to rest, Matias was on his chest making him fight. And after the fifth round, he was done. And to go back to your corner, now this guy's apparently a superstar in Uzbekistan, I think it is. He's going to be a brave man going home after that, isn't he? I mean, I hate using the term, but he quit. It's as simple as that. He was out of his comfort zone. He'd been made to work. He was tired. Matias was just getting warmed up, and he quit. So whatever respect I did have for him early in the fight there evaporated after that, because I thought, how can you go all the way to Las Vegas for a world title fight? You've obviously been brilliant in all your fights leading up to this. I think he'd had, was it 19 wins or something and 18 knockouts, whatever it was, or 23 wins, 20 knockouts, whatever it worked out to. What, the minute you don't have it your own way, you're going to quit? Pretty ordinary if you ask me, mate. But anyway. All right. What's that? Axie Man 1. How are you, mate? Hi, Lynden. First time commenting, but have been tuning in for the few months now. Good stuff, mate. I'm glad you've put a comment in there. Read a tweet from Ben Damon in the last couple of days that there'll be a new weight class called Super Cruiserweight. Yeah, I did see that. There was a release from the AMBF. Of course, internationally, it is Bridgerweight, or is that just with the WBC? It's Bridgerweight. Now we'll call it Super Cruiserweight. I don't mind it, I will say, mate. I think that the jump from cruiserweight to heavyweight is, I'll get my calculator out here. What is it? Is it only 10 pounds? Does that make sense? If it is, it doesn't make sense, does it? Because I think it's 190. So it's 10 pound, isn't it? So what's that? 4.5 to 5 kilos. Maybe not. I was probably thinking the jump from cruiserweight to heavyweight. Look, if it means a little bit more safety for some of these cruiserweights who maybe struggle with cruiserweight and a little bit small for a heavyweight, if it saves them getting hurt, then maybe it's the way to go. But yeah, that doesn't make sense when you're that size. 4.5 to 5 kilos is not a lot of weight. It's not like we're talking, bantamweight to super bantamweight, is it? But I did see that actually, man, that it's going to be called Super Cruiserweight. So and the thing is, I guarantee this will be rolled out internationally. The WBC, of course, already have it. But don't be surprised if the WBA and IBF and WBO jump on board and all the other factions as well, because you know what it means? It means money. Sanctioning fees. More titles means more money. So they're going to try and bring in as many weight divisions as they can. I don't think the AMBF fall into that category. I think they're more looking at the safety aspect, because the AMBF would make stuff all out of the sanctioning fees anyway. But the major sanctioning bodies, they might charge hundreds of thousands of dollars for some of the sanctioning fees. So it makes sense, doesn't it? But look, as I said, if it saves lives and the safety of a lot of fighters out there, then I'm all for it. G'day, Andy. How are you, mate? Welcome to the chat. And yes, I always forget, smash that like button. Yes, please. Shane Sermon. How are you, Shane? I don't think I've seen you in the chat for a little bit, mate, but glad to have you along. Full credit to No Limit, but think the Fox monopoly and not working in with Tasman's Ace and Wildfighter is not in the best interest of the boxers. Well, yeah. It has been debated a lot, hasn't it, Shane? To be honest with you, I think the only ones that aren't overly happy with it are the other promoters. I think there is a way that they can work in with those other promotional companies. I think it's a good idea, because let's face it, I think, what was it, the interview that Angelo Di Carlo did on Facebook a couple of weeks ago made some really good points. Did Angelo, that he rattled off all these fighters that haven't been seen on TV and no one knows anything about, and they could be future superstars. And I understand that. But you got to remember look, what you said there can be debated. It's not working and it's not in the best interest of the boxers. What it comes down to is that the Fox Sports executives don't give a shit about the best interest of the boxers and working with other promotional companies. All they want to do is they've got a boxing component they want to put on Fox Sports. And they're saying, okay, we've been burnt that many times by promoters that haven't invested the money we've given them or haven't delivered on what they said they're going to do. So let's just find the biggest current promoter that has got a few runs on the board. Obviously, Tszyu and Nikita Tszyu is a massive advantage to have. Let's give it to those guys and wipe our hands of it and walk away. And as long as they do the right thing, I don't care. they wouldn't care that all those other fighters haven't been on TV. They're not really invested in the development of Australian fighters. They're in it to deliver to the fans out there a certain amount of content they have to put out to keep their subscribers happy. It's a bit like they've got the Fox Footy channel, there's the League channel, there's the Cricket channel, all different channels. Well, they've sort of done that in this aspect here. They've given it to No Limit as the big boys. And as I said, mate, I don't think they really care about the development of Aussie boxers. As long as the content is good, that's all they care about, and it's been delivered in the way that they would like it to be. And you've got to remember, all these executives deal with all these other sports and everything else. Boxing would be so far down the pecking order, it wouldn't matter. And they would have looked at No Limit and said, okay, these guys are good operators. We've got a good relationship with them. We'll just give it to them. The one thing I am a little bit, I won't say dirty about, is that the way Dean Lonergan from DNL was treated. Now, disclosure, I'm actually friends with Dean and have worked with Dean in the past. But what he brought, he'd earned the right to have a say in Australian boxing. He delivered Horn Pacquiao. He then had the National Boxing Series that he launched. That's what I think I did three of those with him. Plus he did some in Canberra and Queensland and everything else. So he had the runs on the board. And as a result, now he's just wiped his hands and gone back to New Zealand. So I think that is a loss to Australian boxing. That is the one big one. I think Tasman, what you'll find with Tasman, Shane, is that they'll probably be more with Jai and Justice, probably looking to launch the fighters, or especially those two, overseas and looking after them there and doing minimal shows in Australia. Now, I can't 100% confirm that, but that's a gut feeling I have. You might see them do minimal shows with the small amount of fighters they might have, and they'll be concentrating on Jai and Justice. I mean, these two guys are going to take, I think, the world by storm. They're going to earn some big coin. So I think you might see Tasman become more of a management type of company rather than a promotional company. And then maybe down the track, they might go back to promotions. But I think at the moment, they want to get right behind Jai and Justice and give them everything they've got. And so I think you can take them out. And Tasman and I don't think No Limit really have a great relationship either. And Wildfighter's probably one, got a good relationship with Will. I think he would be really good to partner up if they were going to have anyone. But either way, look, it's up to No Limit. I probably waffled on a bit there, Shane, but I just think, for Fox Sports, wipe the hands, give it to No Limit, and as long as they do the right thing, that's the way it's going to be. And I suppose we can debate whether it's in the best interest of the fighters or not. I don't bite. I agree about David Benavidez Jr., not the best, but man, he is tough. Yes, he is. A guy who came back from a bullet in the leg isn't surprising. Yeah, he's a tough guy. I'm really glad, and I hope he stays that way. He got off, he's been done for drugs in the past, and he didn't make weight. And he seems a lot more like his head's on his shoulder, a lot better on his shoulders. And he seems like he's now finally got himself on track. And, geez, what is he, 26, I think he is? Another 6 to 12 months under his belt, another fight or two. Yeah, he's going to be a scary proposition, and he's a big super middleweight. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting if he fights Canelo Alvarez, isn't it? So we'll have to wait and see and keep the fingers crossed. But as I said earlier, mate, I was very, very impressed by his performance yesterday. All right, we'll keep going over the comments there. Glenn, how are you, Glenn? Welcome to the chat. Evening to you as well. Axeman, yeah, we're going to give this a mention, mate. I loved your Maloney documentary last night. Yeah, thanks very much for that. And if you haven't checked it out, I might actually bring up the link as we're going. It was the Team Maloney Into the Unknown, it was called. I'm just going to go, I'll just bring it up. Excuse me if I'll just put the link in there. Where is it? Okay, I'll do that. I think this is how you do it. All right, so that's the link to, yeah, that should be it there, hopefully. Yeah, so if you haven't seen it, look, what it is, Jack Dilks from Tribal Mentality came over to the States earlier in the year and done a fantastic job. And I won't go on too long because there's a few comments coming through there. But it was an awesome trip. We went to Stockton, California first with Jason. And then we went to Las Vegas with Andrew. And the whole Team Maloney crew just opened up the doors to Jack and ourselves to have full access to the boys. We went to the gym, watched them train. We did live streams with Tony Toll, Angelo Hyder was great. That full access, top rank took Jack under the wing. He was ringside, getting all the footage, from right there, beside Mikey. What's his name? Mikey Williams, I think his name is, from Top Rank, the official photographer. So he took Jack under his wing, and it was just an awesome performance, awesome gesture by Top Rank, and just couldn't do enough for Jack. And as I said, we had full access to the boys and the crew, and it was just a fantastic opportunity. And that's what Jack's put in there. I mean, it goes for about 20 to 25 minutes, so it's not a long documentary, but it just gives you a little bit of insight into, I think we said, the triumph and tragedy of the boxing game. It can be the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, which you'll see in this. Probably didn't delve into Andrew's situation too much because obviously we didn't show too much of the fight and everything else, but I think you would have got the idea of the devastation that Andrew felt, and also the jubilation that Jason felt. And as I said, it really was the yin and yang of what can happen in the boxing game. So great job by Jackie Dilks. Check it out. It's in the link there. Make sure you watch it. And hopefully there'll be a part 2, 3, 4 coming up down the track. All right, let's get into some more comments there. What do we got? Greg Crawford. How are you, Greg? I thought the Maloney boys doco was great too. I didn't know that you promoted the boys early in the careers. Nice one, mate. Oh, thanks, Greg. No, I really appreciate that, mate. Yeah, I didn't start with them. I think I took them on after 7 or 8 fights, I think it was. I think they were sort of jumping around different promoters around Melbourne and just wherever they could get fights. And again, I won't waffle on too much, but the way it all sort of came about, I went down to the gym in Croydon at East End Boxing down there. Brian Butler, of course, down there with the boys. He was the trainer, and I saw them spar and thought, holy shit, these guys are just something special, so talented, and just the nicest guys you'll ever meet, by the way. And I just looked, first time I saw them, I thought, these guys have got it. So what I did, I offered to Brian and the boys, because I used to go, and still do, of course, go over to the States 2 or 3 times a year for the big fights. I wanted to take them over to experience it, not really anything except just to come over for a week or 10 days, whatever it is, and just come over and go to the fights, go to the weigh-ins, go to the press conference, and just see what it was like over there. And hopefully that would be a little bit of, a bit of momentum or a bit of motivation for them to go a bit further. Both of the guys were amateurs by then, by the way, the first time I saw them. And when they turned pro and had a few fights, as I said, they jumped around a little bit. We came back from that trip, and I just said to them, look, I'd never promoted before, but I offered to be their promoter. And just so they were getting the right, or fighting regularly on the right cards against the right opponents, getting paid properly, all that sort of stuff. It was never about making money. It was about them. And as I said in the interview on the documentary, it was all just to get them to the point where I could, shake their hand and guide them towards someone like Top Rank. And it's all worked out fantastic because they were just got to the cusp, and then Top Rank took them on, and look what they've done since. And I'm really proud of what the boys have done. They had the opportunity and what they've been able to do with that opportunity, with the highs and lows that come with it. Jason won the world title in his 3rd defense. Andrew's had his ups and downs as well, but just so proud of being associated with the boys and what they have achieved. So let's hope it's just, or won't say the beginning, but midway through the careers where they can kick on and go even better. But I'm glad you enjoyed it, Greg. We had a lot of fun doing it. Glenn, how good was the Katie Taylor fight and win yesterday? I do question how she leads with her head. Outstanding fight, though. I'm glad you said that, Glenn, because, look, obviously I'm a fan of Katie Taylor. She's just a tough girl, and she's achieved so much. Olympic gold medalist and 2-time undisputed champion. I get that, but I'll be honest with you, I was watching the fight, especially yesterday, and I thought it might have just been the Serrano fight, but against Cameron yesterday, the same thing happened, and also the first fight early in the year. She tends, like, her legs are really wide apart. She just tends to rush in and throw a little bit of a flurry, and then she holds on for dear life and then sort of gets out. That seems to be her style. And the fighters she got, they don't have a chance, or she fights, don't really have a chance to really stop and set and throw their punches, because she's in really quick, throws a flurry, and then she ties them up and then hangs on and then waits to get broken up, and off she goes again. It's a good style. There's nothing against it. She's obviously winning. But I just think Cameron was the better fighter, and I think Serrano was the better fighter as well, yet she's beaten both these girls, and that's a testament to her, of course. I'm a massive fan of Katie Taylor, I will say. But her head's all over the place. No wonder the other girl got cut. But as I said, good luck to her. At 30, 36 years of age, to be still beating these young champions. It's a credit to her, and I hope she has the trilogy at Croke Park as she's trying to do. They'll probably get 60, 70,000 people there. How good would that be for women's boxing to have that many people at a boxing event in Ireland? It would be massive. So, yeah, great performance by Katie Glenn, and also a good performance from Chantel Cameron, considering she had an axe wound in her head early in the fight. So, good points about Ergashev. He looked big and strong those first few rounds. It looked like Matias was in for a long night, but boy, did that change quickly. Why? I just thought Ergashev was so impressive early, and I thought, where has this guy come from? This guy can fight. He almost reminded me of like a Lomachenko, but a real hard punching Lomachenko. But 2 rounds later, he was back to the mark of Matias, and Matias just got going, warmed up, and went straight past him. So really disappointed, especially that he quit in the corner, mate. I was really disappointed in that. Larry Liston, super cruiserweight. Don't we already have that in Bridgerweight? Yeah, well, same thing. Larry, I think it's a bit like, super welterweight, junior middleweight sort of thing. It just depends. The ANBF have decided, obviously, to call it super cruiserweight, which is, I'm not sure which one's the better name, or Bridgerweight. Either one, I suppose. Maybe we'll have junior heavyweight at some stage by one of the sanctioning bodies, but as long as, like the others, we all know where we're going. I think most people these days refer to the weight divisions by pounds these days. Even us Aussies that are always in kilos have started to say 154, 160, 168. So I think that's the best way to go about it, I think, with all these things going on. People are criticising Andrade for saying he had enough in the corner, but in my opinion, the fight was over. David was beating him to pillar to post. Yeah, I don't think Andrade lost any fans. A bit like Biggs against Nikita Tszyu, I think. I don't think he lost any fans by what happened. I think David Benavidez was just, when he got going, it was just, he did not stop punching. He's a big, strong guy. He was pushing him around. He was throwing multiple punches. So no disrespect to Andrade in that. I think he gave it his all. He couldn't have given any more, and no shame in what happened to him, I don't think. I think, if anything, he's probably earned some support after that, because they showed that he's not just a talented boxer, but he's got a bit of ticker as well. What do we got there? Larry Liston again. By the way, I saw that Amazon put up PBC's fights in the library. Okay, so it looks like Tim and the PBC have a new platform. Let's hope, for the sake of boxing and Tim, that it's a done deal. Now, the only thing with that, though, Larry, I'm not sure that Tim is actually signed long-term to PBC. I know they might have had an agreement when he won the title or whatever it might be, maybe X amount of fights. I've got a feeling that it's either over now, he's got one more fight to go with them, and then it's a bit like George with Top Rank and everything else. I'm not quite sure he's signed to them long term, but I think it would make sense for them to sign him, no doubt at all, especially if they're going to look to make a Crawford fight down the track or a Charlo fight. But it's interesting there, Larry. I'll have to check that out. So, yeah, Amazon putting in the library up. Okay, well, that's obviously what's going to happen, isn't it? They're going to be on the Amazon Prime app, which will be great. Another one we got there. Another, by the way, I heard from reliable sources that knows Munguia's trainer that the Canelo offer is real, but he has to get past John Ryder first. Yeah, I forgot about that one. Hopefully Benavidez is next with a performance like that. Yeah. Yeah, well, if Munguia fights, he's got to fight Ryder, maybe Munguia could fight Charlo, and maybe Canelo could fight Benavidez. Who knows? I've got no doubt now that, I think I've said on here a few times, Canelo is not ducking David Benavidez. He wants to fight him, but he's not going to fight him until he's ready. And I think now he's ready. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's May, but I think it's more like September next year. That's just my gut feel. If all things, if some of these fights can't happen and Munguia's not ready or Charlo's not ready or whatever it might be, it just might happen that there's no one else for Canelo to fight except David Benavidez, and they get it on. And I think after that performance yesterday, I think Canelo would be sitting back looking and going, okay, I think the time is now for that fight. That's the way I think Canelo is anyway. I've never bought into him ducking Benavidez, put it that way. But either way, let's hope they get it on in sometime in 2024, because it's going to be the biggest fight in boxing, no doubt. Andy agrees with I don't bite. Full props to all the recent winners. Matias and Benavidez had very similar outcomes. Ergashev and Andrade looked good early, then punches and pressure saw them tap out in between rounds. Yeah, a little bit different, Andy. I wasn't stressed about Andrade, as I said, but Ergashev, he quit. He just simply quit. He'd had enough. 5 rounds in and you're going to quit from exhaustion. I don't get it. I really don't get it. But Andrade, I think he gave it his all. I think he was exhausted. He was spent. He was under pressure. You got to remember with Matias and Ergashev, it's not like Ergashev was eating a lot of punches and hurt and knocked down and everything else. He just quit. He was tired. So no good for if you ask me. Andrew, bye-bye boo-boo. My least favourite fighter. He thought he could beat Canelo, disrespected him. Canelo would have got 20 years for murder. Yeah, I think Canelo would have chopped him down pretty easy too, wouldn't he, Andrew? I've got no doubt about that as well. Larry, if Jaya Pataya cleans out cruiserweight, then goes to a bridgerweight and wins against either Lukas Rosinski or the current interim champ Kevin Larena, he could technically be a 3-division champion. Yeah, technically, sort of. Yeah, we are right. He would be a 3-division champion, but I don't know. I think beating the interim bridgerweight champion, I don't think that's the sort of thing that's going to really float Jai's boat. I wouldn't have thought. I think he's going to fight Rikapour or Billum Smith or who's the other one? Breedis. And then I think you'll see him move up to heavyweight and have a very, very good career at heavyweight. I've got no doubt he's going to take everything he's got at cruiserweight and be more than a handful for the heavyweight division because his work rate, his footwork, his speed, everything is going to be a lot for a lot of these heavyweight plotters, I think. So I can't wait to see him at heavyweight. All right, that's there. All right, Glenn. Does anyone really care about bridgerweight? I think Jai will go to heavy, if anything. Yep, that's what I said there. Exactly. I agree, mate. Evening, fellas. That's Jules H. How are you, Jules? Bit late. Wanted to jump in and say how impressed I was with Nikita on Wednesday night. Tested twice in his last 2 and came through twice in big ways. Elite composure. Yeah, I'm with you, Jules. I was very, very impressed with Nikita. Now, if you saw my review, you would have seen me say that what I'm impressed about with Nikita is that he learns like Tim did from each fight. And not just from fight to fight, from round to round. Now, he got dropped early with the double right combo or the right-hand combination. He got sort of put back with one and then got dropped with the other one, but more about timing more than power. But what he did, he got up, he took a deep breath, he went back to the corner, he recomposed himself, and then just absolutely went to work on Dylan Biggs. So that is a sign of a good fighter that can learn from round to round, fight to fight. And, after 8 fights, the progress he's made in 8 fights after being out too long. I think there's a few people maybe a bit hard on him early in his career, expecting him to come in and just be Tim Mark II straight off the mark. And he's going to have his ups and downs. I think he's had his caliber of opponents compared to Tim has probably been a little bit better. I think Tim might have fought Jack Brubaker, don't quote me here, but maybe in his 15th, 16th fight, whatever it might have been. And Nikita's fighting him in his 7th fight. So, yeah, just full respect and admiration for Nikita Tszyu and Igor, his trainer. He's obviously the one in there doing the work with him. So, but his composure was great. You see when he got knocked down, he looked up at Dylan Biggs and said, yep, you got me. Okay, you got me. All right, let's go. And that's really was it in a nutshell. And I don't think Dylan Biggs really... The 3rd round was close-ish, but I think after that it was just all Nikita Tszyu. Larry, thanks for the comments here too, guys. We are going to do a giveaway too later if we get time, so keep a look out for that. Jai could use the bridgerweight title fight as a tune-up and the better conform and develop as a heavyweight. It's a gimmick title, but so is Tank's WBA a regular title. Yeah, not a bad point. Just depends. I 100% agree with what you're saying there, Larry. It just depends on Jai whether he wants to do that. Technically, he could do what you said there. I think when he makes the move, he's going to want to make the move. And what he might do, what is cruiserweight 190, you might just see him fight at 205 or something, or maybe 210. Or 210 is probably a bit heavy, but maybe 202 to 205 for starters, and just maybe take the time to let the muscle and everything develop on him, and then you might see him end up at maybe 215, 220 after that. But either way, look, he's got a very, very good team around him, and I'm sure they'll be making the right decisions with Jai. But either way, as I said earlier, I just think he's going to give a lot of heavyweights a lot of headaches, I can tell you. All right. Andy says to Larry, interesting news about PBC and Amazon. I was hoping PBC went with DAZN, to be honest. That cross-the-street biz denied us some good fights over the years. Not a fan of over-marinating. Yeah, well, seems to happen way too often at the moment, doesn't it, Andy? The over-marinating, and, you know, it's going to get worse. I think someone said last week, with especially what's going on in Saudi Arabia, if they get all the big fights, these guys are going to fight every year or 18 months. I know they sort of do that now, but it's just going to become more and more prevalent. So I think the DAZN would have been good, but in all this, there's always, you know, it's money and everything, and maybe PBC didn't want to just get into the same or under the same umbrella as the others. They wanted their own little niche in the market so they can control it maybe a bit better. Who knows? But yeah, I'm with you there. And it would have been great if DAZN had thrown a massive offer at PBC and said, let's get everyone under one umbrella so we can start making these fights. But it's going to be no different to Showtime, is it? Really, it's just on a different network. We're going to have the best not fighting the best, which is our loss. All right, Greg. I've only been following for a couple of months. I know you probably don't like blowing your own trumpet, but I'd be interested to know more about your background. Well, I won't go into it too much, Greg. I think I've said it on here before, but pretty much I was an amateur boxer back in the day. Represented Australia at the Olympics in 96, Commonwealth Games in 98, World titles in 97, 93, and it had about 100 fights. So I never turned pro, but that's really it, watered down in a nutshell there, Greg. So I think I got a little bit of credit anyway. I don't bite. What have we got there? Andy, yep, both fights ended up going similar. Nothing like seeing a fighter with suffocating pressure eventually drowning his opponent and getting the stoppage. Yeah, elite fighters do that, don't they? They just keep on them, and they just, what do they say, the old adage? They drag them out into deep water and drown them. So, and I think both those guys did that very, very well. Larry says, also just to fill you guys in, Lewis, is that D. Cubis? David Morrell's manager said that the very last Showtime card in December will be headlined by David Morrell against Sina Agbeko. Oh, okay, that'll be a good fight. Interesting, yes, that will be, Larry. So when's that? That's December 15th, is it, from memory? I think it is. So we've got the Haney and Prograis fight is obviously DAZN. So this will be the last Showtime card. And I still can't believe that Showtime won't be in boxing anymore. I really can't. I'm just shattered. It was hard enough with HBO. Now Showtime going. They said, I think on the weekend, the first pay-per-view ever was back in 1986 when Marvelous Marvin Hagler knocked out John the Beast Mugabe in 11 rounds. I remember that like it was yesterday. So it's hard to believe that was 37 years ago. So unbelievable. Jules says, shout out to Jack Dilks. Nice little doco. And shout out Lynden for recognising the boys' talent and putting it on the line. Yeah. Just, as I said, Jules, the first time I saw him spar, I just knew that these guys were something special. And I just wanted to do what I could to help them along. That's all it really was. And they did the rest. I gave them the platform. Don't get me wrong. It cost a fair bit of money to get them where they got to, and the various regional belts to get them rankings and all that sort of stuff. But look, to see them where they are now, as I said earlier, I'm proud that I've done it. I'm proud of the guys that they've taken the help that I've given them, and other promoters as well, and especially now Top Rank, and they've taken that opportunity and both become world champions. So credit to them. What are you saying there, Tara? Hey, Lynden did an episode when he first started the channel, and you're right. I don't like to blow my own trumpet. I will say that, but Tara, I'm sure you'll do it anyway. All right. Jules H says also shout out to Mark Sleeves for that KO. Oh, what a KO it was! And I'm happy for Mark Sleeves. I will say I've been a little bit critical of Mark Sleeves in the past because I'm a little bit old fashioned. I don't like the whole Matias talking it up and trying to be, I don't know who he's trying to be, and carrying on everything. I don't mind it in the fighters that have actually done something to warrant it. You know, some really flashy fighters out there, but they've backed it up. My problem with, well, not problem, but my issue with Mark Sleeves was that, you know, especially that last fight with Rocky Ogden, everyone saw the way he carried on and he got knocked down in one round. Now, I know he was above his weight limit. I was happy with this last fight because it was just Mark Sleeves. He wasn't trying to be anyone except Mark Sleeves. And that's all I want to see. Again, I know I'm old-fashioned. I understand that. But I just like to see him just be Mark Sleeves. Go out there. He's a brilliant young... Well, I'm not sure how old he is, whether he's so young anymore, but he's a brilliant fighter. On his day, I think he's got some great skills. I think he can be a good fighter given the opportunities. But that's all I want. That's all I want to see you do and be. Just be yourself. Train hard. I understand you've got to probably carry on a little bit to get on these cards, and some of the other guys do and understand that. But I just thought, because I'm going to hand on heart, I'm going to admit it. When Rocky Ogden knocked him out in the first round, I must admit I had a bit of a chuckle, and I'm not afraid to say it. I thought that's what you get when you carry on like that. But as I said, I was really happy that this time he was just himself, probably a little bit of carry on, but that's okay. And he went in there and got a really, really good knockout, highlight reel knockout. And I'm happy that, and I hope that No Limit now get behind him and give him some more opportunities so we can see some more of the best of Mark Sleeves, especially at his own weight. So yeah, all the best to him going forward. And I'm not trying to be a hater or whatever. Not just Mark. I just don't like fighters carrying on. I really don't. Fighters that, especially Aussie fighters, more recently have a bit of a habit of doing it. I know they see it with the heroes overseas. I get it. They're trying to make their mark and be different. But us Aussies, and I'm one of them, I just want Aussie guys to be a bit more down to earth and let the fist do the talking. So that's just me. I'm sure there's a lot of you guys out there that like the way people carry on. I just don't. So anyway, but as I said, really happy for Mark Sleeves again. G'day, Kyle. How you going, mate? Welcome to the chat. Andy says, Jules, a bit of a scare for Nikita early there, but that fourth round punishment on Big Shaw sealed that outcome. Entertaining. Oh, it was a great performance. We'll keep moving there. Speaking of Kyle, Amber Amelia needs to drop weight. The girls in Super Bantam have too much reach on her and height. Yep. She needs to drop the super flyweight at least. Yeah. Look, I won't say she's carrying a lot, but like it or not, she needs to come down. She weighed 120.5 pounds, whatever it might be. So she should be able to make bantamweight. I'm with you. She should be super flyweight. She's way too short in height, and also her reach is way too short. She's just going to continue to get outboxed by these tall girls. It's as simple as that. The Chanel Dargan fight was close, but the girl on the weekend who fought really well, I can't remember who that was. Sorry, I haven't got it there. But, yeah, she fought really well. But, yeah, Amber Amelia, I think she's a really good young prospect, but she needs to drop down. And I'm sure she can. There's people out there that'll be able to help her. Look at the Maloneys. They're both fighting in a division above where they are now. They've come back, and they're big, strong guys. So whoever they fight, and Amber Amelia could be in that category as well. Chad Walls. How are you, Chad? I was really impressed by Nikita on Wednesday. A lot of people were on Team Biggs. I predicted Nikita's stoppage within 5. Okay. Should have bet on it. Yep. Also was amazed at the Grush KO. Yeah. Is it Gruck or Grush? I'm going to call him Grush. That was unbelievable. Now, I won't say there's karma or anything like that in boxing, but I know Liam Taliva, he was pretty happy with himself, I think, going to that fight. I think he was going to win that fight quite comfortably and looked like he was going to in the end, but that's boxing, especially heavyweight boxing. He knocked Grush down early, and I thought, oh, well, okay, we're going to see another really impressive knockout by Taliva here. And then, bang, he puts Taliva down, and round of the year, fight of the year, whatever you want to call it. And then the first 15 seconds is bang down he goes. Now, I think Taliva will be back. I don't think it's a career-defining fight for him. I just think he just got caught. He was probably shaken at the end of the round and went out there early to maybe try and get on the offensive and just wore one really early, and it was all over. But I'm a fan of Grush. I just thought that he went in there. He didn't really look like a boxer, did he? Taliva had the build and the style and everything else. Grush just looked like a bit of a battler. And I think they said he hadn't fought for 13 years up until his first fight back a couple of months ago. And to get in there and to do that, I was just wrapped for him. So good on Grush. I thought it was a great win. And I'm sure Taliva will be back. Too good a fighter not to come back. Yes, Kyle Sky gets her first TKO. A little surprising, but well done. Serrano versus Taylor looks more likely for Amanda. Sky misses out. But should compete for the full WBC belt in her next fight. I was really impressed by Sky Nicholson, I will say, Kyle. I've always been impressed by her anyway, but the fact that she's now stepping up more and more than obviously she has early in her career. The TKO, especially against, is it Lionheart or Wildheart, whatever her name was? Wildheart, Lucy Wildheart. Surprising she got the stoppage over Wildheart because she's actually probably the toughest girl she's fought. I think the corner did a really good job by throwing the towel, though. She was obviously taking a bit of punishment. Sky's not the biggest puncher, but not a lot of the girls are. And I've got to say, I don't think she'll get the Serrano fight, to be honest, Cole, but I think she's shown that she could probably go with Serrano. I'd still back Serrano to beat Sky, but I think Sky has shown more than any other fight in her career that she's ready for that type of fight. Now, Taylor, the thing is what you've got to look at here is that Taylor will probably fight Cameron in the rubber match. So what's Serrano going to do? She needs some type of defense. Sky's been very vocal. So who knows? Maybe Serrano wants the fight in the meantime, and then you might see Serrano-Taylor maybe this time next year. But Sky's going to give herself every chance. If it's not Serrano, well, like you said there, she's going to get a shot at the full WBC belt, and I think she beats whoever she fights. I think she can beat anyone at this stage except Serrano. And whether she gets a shot at her or not, we'll see. But I'm impressed with Sky. I think she can do it. No problems. Andy says, I'm a fan of Katie Taylor, but I think I gave Cameron by a point or a draw. Okay. That was a legit knockdown. That and constant holding probably warranted a point deduction. Love to see a decider. Look, I'm with you in some aspects there, Andy. I do think that Katie Taylor did win the fight narrowly. But I do think that was a knockdown, 100%. I don't know how you can throw a hard jab and someone goes down and it's deemed a slip. I mean, whether or not she was off balance or whatever it might have been, that is a knockdown, 100%. The constant holding, I'm with you. She did not, as I said earlier, she threw the little combo and then held on for dear life. So I get that. But end of the day, it wasn't ruled a knockdown. She didn't get warned or a point taken off for holding, so you can only take it for what it is. I thought Katie Taylor won 6 of the 10 rounds. I had her winning 96-94. But I'm a fan of Cameron too, by the way. And as I said earlier, I actually do think she's the better fighter. She just didn't fight a very good fight. Katie Taylor fought the perfect fight. I still, if I've got to go one, if they're going to have a rubber match, I think one it should be in England. I know they're talking about Croke Park, but I think Katie Taylor. Going a bit in the focus there. I think she's gone to Ireland twice now, especially after winning the first fight. She still went back to Ireland, to Dublin. I think that Katie Taylor, if it can't be done at Croke Park, they should say, let's go to England, to London or Liverpool, Manchester, wherever it might be, and let's do the third fight there and get a big crowd there and give a little bit back to Cameron. I know that probably won't be the case because Katie Taylor is an Eddie Hearn fighter, one of his superstars. But I think that will be the next fight anyway, and I can't wait. This should be a rip of a fight. Jay Brown, hey Jay. Congrats to Sky on the win, and I support her as an Aussie, but I do find her hard to watch with her hands so low. Serrano would find that chin very quickly, I think. Yeah, well, that's my opinion as well, Jay, I will say. I think that Serrano, she's just not going to let Sky just pretty much do her own thing and pick her off from a distance. Serrano is probably the closest I've seen to a female fighter that fights like a man. She's nice and tight. She's hard. She doesn't pity pat. She gets in and throws hard punches. She keeps coming. She digs hard. She's on them from start to finish. So I think she wouldn't let Sky, and I've said it repeatedly, I don't understand how some of these other girls don't get it. Sky, it's the jab, it's the jab, the hook off the jab, and she steps off to the right and off she goes, and they just let her do it time and time again. Serrano's going to do her homework. She's going to cut her off, make her move the opposite way, or at least cut her off, make her stand the ground and fight, and that could be the difference. And that's where that lack of power is going to come into it for Sky, especially if it is 12 3-minute rounds. If it's 10-2s, maybe Sky can do enough and survive for 2 rounds and do a thing and get out of there. 3-minute rounds, especially over 12 rounds, is a totally different ball game. So we'll see. But I think Serrano's actually said it's only 12 threes from here on in. So we'll see what happens there. But it all depends on whether Katie Taylor wants to either fight Serrano or Cameron. I think she's going to want to fight Cameron, but we'll see. Larry says, any news on what's next for Justice Honey? Seems very developed for the program. Not yet, Larry. I don't think anything's sort of been announced. I think they'll let him go for the end of the year, of course. It's already a month out from Christmas. I hope they keep him active, though. I hope he has at least 3 fights next year, if not 4. He's only had 9 fights, whatever it might be, or it might even be less. So I would hope, they keep him active and maybe get him up to 15 fights and then look to step him up after that. He's only a young guy, so they don't have to rush him. Depends on what they want to do with him at Matchroom and Tasman. But I think Justice Honey, he's going to be a very, very good fighter after another 5 fights as well in that heavyweight division. We'll keep going there. Kyle, Sky needs to use that jab more. Double up and set up that cross. She was on fire in the 5th round, but took her foot off the gas again. Yeah, well, that's what you can do when you're dictating the pace, Kyle, and good fighters do it. Don't get me wrong. Sky's a very, very good fighter. So she just fights at her pace, fights when she wants, takes a bit of a rest when she needs. The thing is, I did say that as well, that she did take the foot off the gas, but that's all she had to do. She was probably in her mind, she's thinking, why go all out when I really don't need to? I'm winning every round. And obviously the corner stopped the fight anyway. So I think Sky's the type of fighter. If she was fighting a Serrano, one of these types of guys, you would see her, fully alert, fully ready to go, and she'll fight every round like the last and not take rounds off because she won't have a chance to. So elite fighters tend to go through the motions a little bit with fighters that aren't at their level, but when they fight other elite fighters, then you see them rise to the other fighters' level, and I think you'll see that with Sky. But I'm with you. I don't like the hands down so low. I don't like the little pity pat sort of thing. And as I said earlier, I think Serrano will not allow her to do that. She will make her fight. So hopefully we end up getting a look at it anyway. Kyle says Sky will likely fight either Sarah Marford or Brenda Carbajal. Now, I don't really know a lot about the division, I will say, Kyle. I'm glad you look like you're a female fighter fan, so that's great. So I'm not quite sure about it all, mate. I'm guilty. I really just focus on the males, but also just probably skim the surface of the really elite females, and don't really look too much into down deep like you've obviously done there. So who was that? So it's Sarah Marford or Brenda Carbajal. So we'll keep a look out for that one. And he says, I just don't understand how Munguia comes into the picture for Canelo when he's under contract with PBC and Munguia is a Golden Boy fighter. I want Canelo versus Benavidez ASAP. Yeah, it's just been spoken about at the moment, Andy. I'm with you. I would much rather see Canelo Benavidez, but my gut feel just says there'll be one more fight for each of them before they actually do get it on. I'm not a big rat for Munguia either. I think he's been hand-fed his whole career. I thought he was very lucky to beat Dennis Hogan, as we all know. So if he got a Canelo fight handed to him, I wouldn't be happy about that either. And Canelo, I understand he had the Ryder fight and the Golovkin fight before that and everything else, and obviously now Charlo. But he's sort of had, I won't call them cherry picks, but he's sort of picked and choose who he sort of wants to fight and when. I understand all that, but now's the time to fight someone that the fans want you to fight. I know he did it for the belts in the past and wanted to wrap up the trilogy with Golovkin and all that sort of stuff. Wanted the in-between fight with Ryder, and the Charlo fight was sort of there, but now let's see him fight someone that the fans want him to see him fight, because the fans didn't want to see him fight any of those guys. They want him to fight Benavidez, so let's hope we get that opportunity. Still on the women, Kyle says Desley Robinson and Lani Daniels this weekend. Yeah, I think I stuffed that up, Kyle. I thought it was a weekend gone, but it's this weekend coming in New Zealand. Robinson has a massive height advantage, going up a lot in weight though. That being said, there is no need for a heavyweight division in the women's, but a solid light heavyweight division. I don't think there's many out there, is there at all? Even at light heavyweight, is there, Kyle? Should be a really good fight, though. I think, is that being promoted by DNL, or is that someone else? I'm just going to type that in there, and we'll see what comes up. Desley Robinson, let's have a look at the event. So it's in Whangarei, New Zealand. So yeah, DNL events. Doesn't surprise me that's for that. So that's for the IBF titles. Also the IBF Super Bantamweight title on that card is at Motu Shani Meira. So I'm not sure. We don't see Andrei Mikhailovich on there, so that's a bit disappointing. I like seeing him fight, but yeah, so yeah, DNL, you can be guaranteed it'll be a very, very good show. Nikita versus Tony Harrison. Let's make it happen. Yeah, well, I think Tim did say that after the fight, didn't he? I think might be a fraction early for that one, but you never know. Larry says, even though Munguia is a Golden Boy fighter and Canelo dislikes Oscar, business comes over personal relations in these situations. Well, Canelo's probably the one fighter, or one of maybe a couple that could say, I don't care about all the differences between promotional firms and television networks. I want to fight him, so make it happen. He's probably the only one. I would reckon PBC and Golden Boy would pretty much tell their fighters what to do, but Canelo is the exception. So let's hope. Look, as I said, I don't want to see Canelo fight Munguia, but we'll see what happens. There's not really many other fighters for him to fight if it's not Benavidez, is there? Bill Hack, I would love to see an episode about your career. You went to the Olympics, had lots of fights, and would have worked with lots of great amateurs. Would be a great watch. And yeah, okay, mate. Well, I could probably do that. I'm not sure I'd feel comfortable doing an episode on myself, though. But yeah, I could probably, or maybe if you want, we can maybe dedicate one of these shows to a bit of Q&A. You guys can answer some questions. I can give you a bit of an input. But as I said earlier, Bill, pretty much I had about 100 fights, fought for 15, 16 years, whatever it was. 15, started boxing when I was 10, finished when I was just turned 25. So it's hard to think back. I thought at 25, just turned 25, a month or so earlier, that I was pretty much over the hill and done. But looking back, I probably hadn't even hit my peak, which is a bit sad. But I was very lucky after that, Bill. Got married, went into business, and that's all she wrote, I suppose. But I'll get often asked why I didn't turn pro. Well, no regrets, I didn't do it, but that's the way it goes. And I think I have done an episode on myself. I think I did do an episode a while ago that I actually had a bit of... see if I can find a link at some stage. But anyway, enough about me. We'll keep moving on. Andy says, Kyle, surely there's some big ladies out there with heavy hands that can put on some entertaining fights. This is heavyweight. Yeah, well, I'm sure there's someone out there. At that weight level, just promoting obesity. Okay, just be careful there, Kyle. Remember, you got to be happy with your body shape these days. You can't call anyone obese. Is it body positivity or whatever? Every fighter listed in heavy has and can make proper weight at light heavyweight. Be careful there, Carl. You're going to have them coming for you, mate. Larry, wouldn't you think PBC would be using Canelo's fights to sell themselves to a new home to establish themselves while that's some outside fighter in that scenario? Yeah, good point there. Jules says, Igor got to be in contention for Trainer of the Year, interim title, world title, and an Aussie title in about 9 months. Got to get him on the show. I'd like to. I'm not sure he likes doing a lot of media, though, Jules. You probably see that he doesn't do a lot. I'm not quite sure how good his English is. I'd like to. Maybe I'll reach out to Glenn Jennings. Maybe Glenn could come on with him. We could have them both on. That might be something we could do. But as far as Trainer of the Year, 100%. Should be no contest, if you ask me. Larry says there is no public interest in seeing Canelo fight Jermall. I'm with you there, Larry. And he's quite ready for Benavidez, and isn't quite ready, for Benavidez yet from what I see. Perhaps if Callum Smith beats Benavidez, he might move up to light heavyweight again. I don't think so, Larry. I think he's learned his lesson at light heavyweight. And I would hope he doesn't fight Benavidez, because that would be not a good night for Canelo. I think it's a bit different fighting Bivol, who's a great fighter, but not the hardest puncher in the world. Benavidez is just a beast. And I think at this stage of his career, Canelo's just got to pick who he fights, like Mayweather did and Pacquiao did and all the great fighters did. Andy says, I've been hearing Biko isn't the same fighter, had some brain injury. Okay, I didn't know that, mate. Apparently shouldn't be fighting, but here we are. Well, let's hope they sort that out. Andrew says, is John the Beast Mugabe still in Queensland? Well, as far as I know, Andrew, I know he's been living up there for a while. I haven't seen him on social media or anything for a while, but yeah, from what I heard he was, Andrew. How good is that? We've got John the Beast Mugabe living in Queensland. That's crazy. I used to love seeing him fight. I still remember when he knocked out, who was it? He got stopped by Dwayne Thomas for the WBC Super Welterweight title. Who did he beat for the interim title? For the vacant title? I can't actually remember. But he was just an animal, or obviously the beast, as it says there. Terry Norris made a bit of a mess of him, though, didn't he? Was it Dwayne? Yeah, Dwayne Thomas beat Mugabe as well. Yeah, I'm just trying to think back. It was Gianfranco Rossi that then beat Dwayne Thomas for the title. Anyway, We'll keep going. A bit like how Floyd dictated who he'd fight and when. Only very few fighters can do that. Yep, that's what I said, Larry. 100% agree there, mate. Andy says, remember, Canelo tried to pull that dictating own fights busy in the original DAZN $365 million 10-fight deal, and they weren't paying him to do as he pleased. Doubt PBC does either. We'll see regardless. Yeah, well, we will see, mate, but Canelo is the superstar of boxing, isn't he? With arguably the best resume in boxing, I won't call out Canelo for doing so. He's earned the right to fight who he wishes, as long as they are good, hard fights. But I do hope we see the David fight. Yes, let's hope so. Kyle, you've said week after week Sky needs to stay with Serrano. I can't believe you've changed the tune. Not necessarily changed the tune, Kyle, but I've warmed a little bit to the prospect. That being said, Sky's hard to trap. I would like to see if Serrano handles her full work. Yeah, that's what I said earlier, mate. Yeah, look, I did say she needs to stay away from Serrano, and I still sort of think that after only 8 or 9 fights, she's not quite ready yet, but she's more ready than she has been in the past, Kyle. But yeah, we'll see. I hope she gets the opportunity. I really do. She's an excellent fighter. I just think it might just still be a fraction early, but all the best to her if she does get that shot at Serrano. Glenn says, and to be what's that say there? And to be fair, if I can get it up there, Floyd, unfair, I'll spit it out. To be fair on Floyd, he didn't tie up divisions like Canelo does. Yes, a very, very good point. Sometimes he wouldn't even fight for a world title. He didn't need to. Fighters like those don't need belts. Pacquiao was the same. I just want to fight the best. So let's just get it on. I think even the Canelo, he's won every title known to man. So does the title really matter to him anymore? I don't think it does. And that's a good point, Larry. Counter that, one could say that Floyd never went undisputed either. Very, very good point. Look, I just think Floyd Mayweather, for him, it was more about legacy and money. Money more than anything. I don't think the belts ever really meant anything to him, to be honest, and being undisputed tonight. So I know it means a lot these days. I still don't think it does. I think as long as you're beating the best of your era, who cares if you don't fight some no-name that might have a belt that you don't have? That's the way I see it anyway. Matias says, did you see Jermall Charlo yesterday? Looks the goods, but only a pup. Yeah, he's got a long way to go. I didn't actually see it, Matias. I saw a bit on social media. I actually saw him fight when Tszyu and I went to Las Vegas last September, so in 2022. We went to the Box Expo, and they had an amateur show on, and he actually fought on the day, and he was absolutely brilliant. Jermall Charlo. There's no coincidence that the Mayweather team have taken him under the wings, and I think you'll see him he's turned pro now, and I think you'll see some very, very big things from him as well. But you're right, he's only a pup, no need to rush him. And he says, in regards to undisputed and holding 4 major belts together, in my opinion, undisputed champs should be restricted to Mandos unless fighting champ or next division up. There's 4 lines, each pay fees, so need to move. Yeah, it's an interesting one and complicated one, Andy, with the 4 belts. I think there needs to be sort of an agreement amongst all champions or all belts that you must fight the one after the other. But is it really fair to a champion to fight the mandatory of every one? So every fight you're fighting a mandatory. There's no voluntaries in there. I know it's a little bit controversial. In my opinion, with the undisputed belt, I think there should almost be, you win all 4 belts, and then maybe, of course, you get the ring belt on top of that. And then it should be a thing. You just maybe vacate. You've got to pick 1 or 2 to keep, and you've got to vacate the others. You cannot keep all 4 major belts happy. You can't keep all the mandatories happy. You can't keep the sanctioning bodies happy. You cannot, and it's not fair to simply fight mandatory after mandatory after mandatory with the belts. So really, it should almost be unify the belts, and then you take the ring belt, and that's the belt you end up defending. I don't know how to work it, or maybe there's some other belt that all 4, maybe that's an idea. Maybe all 4 organizations have a joint belt that is just called the undisputed belt, and maybe they've got them rather having super champions and all platinum champions or whatever hell they call them these days. All 4, and I know it's not going to happen. You don't have to put it in the chat, but an idea to have all 4 sanctioning bodies come together and create one belt that if you win the undisputed belt, that is the belt. And then maybe what happens is that all 4 sanctioning, and I sound silly saying this because I can't believe I'm saying this out loud because it sounds that silly, because it's never going to happen. But all 4 of the sanctioning bodies agree on who's going to be the mandatory challenger, and then the next one you can take the voluntary challenger. Maybe it's a top 5. It's got to be ranked in the top 5 of all 4, and that's the voluntary. Oh, I don't know. I know it sounds ridiculous. I can't believe I'm waffling on about it, but in a perfect world, that would be the way to go. Maybe it could be the universal boxing belt or whatever hell it is, and it's the belt that all 4 sanctioning bodies have ticked off, and that's what the undisputed champion gets, and then all the other belts get vacated underneath them. I don't know. I'll keep going. Kyle says, Lynden, how did you go with your boxing archives? No good, I'm sorry, Kyle. Every fight that I've got is actually on YouTube at the moment, so I apologise about that, mate. I've put them all up and can't really find any others. Hey, while we've got a bit of a break there, we've only got about 10 minutes to go. We're going to do a quick giveaway, a couple of quick giveaways. So I've got a couple of things. Let's start off with the first one. I've got a boxing deep dive t-shirt. I've only got 2 to choose from, guys. It's a large or a small. So I apologise if you're a medium. So that is a large or the small. The way we're going to work this, first one to put it in the chat as the answer is the one that gets it. I've got a couple of things to give away. So it's a boxing deep dive t-shirt. It must be in Australia as well for the postage side of things. So if you want this, the boxing deep dive t-shirt, as I said, there's a large or a small. That is the large there. The question I have, and as I said, first one to put it in the chat, something to do with boxing deep dive. Okay, there's been 5, apart from myself, there's been 1, 2, 3, 4 other hosts on the show. Name the 4 hosts. Okay, not guests. The hosts that I regularly have. Actually, is there 1, 2? Yeah, there's 4 other hosts. I think I'd know my own show, wouldn't you? So first one in the chat can win the boxing deep dive t-shirt. I'll keep answering a couple of questions before we get the comments through. Larry says, in my opinion, the belt should be scattered once the fighter wins all 4. Yep. After a certain period of time, there should be a max time on being undisputed. Yeah. There's got to be some sort of system because they just cannot keep them active or in motion. I'm not sure what Asbot's saying there. There's got to be something they can do because it's just impossible to satisfy all sanctioning bodies, and it's unfair on the fighters to just tread water for so long. What do we got there? Peter Matias, Tszyu, and Mike. There's one more. Andy, there's one more. There's been a regular host of the show. There's one more beside those 3 that's been on several times as a host. I'll give you a bit of a hint. He's got his own channel, and he's a regular. He's probably one of the biggest social media content providers out there. While we're going, we'll get another. We'll get another question there. All right, this time. Oh, look at that. That's pretty cool. It goes through there. It is a scarf. Haney, you can see there. Hang on. Is that right there? Haney Cambosis. I think is it a soccer scarf? All right. As you can see there is a scarf. The old green screen doing great things there. All right. So that is the soccer scarf. Cambosis Haney. Got it last year. All right. The question for George, about George. Let's have a look. So the first one to get this right in the chat. Okay, outside of Australia, what was the first country that George Kambosos fought in outside of Australia? It was in 2018. If I can, I'll just make sure that I'm right here, by the way. Just quickly going through his... okay. Yes, okay, all right. First country he fought in outside of Australia. Now, George has fought in a lot of countries. What's that, Jay? The scarf is a clue. Go get the tea. Yes. Yes. Good call there. That's incorrect there, Andy. As you said, Greece. That is not right. So he did fight in his 1, 2, 3, was it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. In his 12th fight. No, that's not right, Mutsy. I'll keep going through there. Luke Phipps, you are correct. It was New Zealand. He fought Camille Bella in New Zealand in May 2017. That was in Manuka City. That was. Sorry, Larry, you're a fraction late there, mate, because I was on the Joseph Parker undercard. That was. So that is for the scarf there, mate. And what I'll do, if you win it, make sure you go on our Boxing Deep Dive Instagram page and DM me your postal details and we'll get it out. So that was for the Haney Kambosos scarf. I suppose it's a collector's item. It's got Haney on one side. You can't really see it with the green screen, but that's the scarf there. Still waiting on the other host of the show, guys. Yeah, it was Duco. Yep, it was Duco Promotions. Joseph Parker fought, if I can remember. I'll put in the events up there. He fought Razvan Kojanu, who's a late replacement from memory. George fought Camille. Can't really remember the guys on the undercard. Not much on there. All right. Oh, donated. Okay. All right. Well, who was second on the list there? Who was the second to get there? I think it was Larry. Larry Liston. There you go, Larry. You were second to get it, so you will win the George Kambosos Devon Haney scarf. Okay. There you go. Very nice of you there, Luke. So that was, Larry, if you want to DM me on Instagram on the Boxing Deep Dive page, I'll get that out to you. So Merry Christmas to you. Happy birthday, whatever it might be. All right, we'll keep going down the comments there. Luke, you've done it again, mate. We're going to donate this as well. This is the Deep Dive shirt. It's Nick, I'll call it Noonan. Noonan Boy, Nick Noonan Boy, Noonan. He's the other co-host of the show. I know we haven't had any of these guys on for a while, but he is the other host. So that is the other. So, Luke, if you want the shirt, let me know. If not, we'll, what's it say? Mutty, New Zealand, a suburb of Australia. If not, we'll donate that to someone as well. But the Boxing Deep Dive t-shirt, a large or a small. Now, the other one we've got is the glove. All right, this is worth $250. Hall of Fame glove. I'll turn it that way so you can see the logo properly. It's signed by world champions Barry Michael, Lester Ellis, Daniel Gill, Jason Maloney, and Nadal Skinny Hussein. So he was inducted on this night. So that is the glove. Oh, sorry, I'll do it that way. What's that there? I'll take the shirt. All right, cool, mate. So it's a large or a small. Let me know. Again, Instagram, Boxing Deep Dive page. So this is the glove. Okay, so the question I've got, we might make it a little bit harder. Barry Michael. So it might be hard for some of you, not for others. We're going to say Barry Michael. Who did Barry Michael fight at the Melbourne Town Hall on Ash Wednesday? A long time ago. Larry, I live in Europe, mate. Don't think I can pay the shipping fee. Larry, what I'll do, I will see what the shipping costs are to Europe. If it's not too much, mate, I'll send it over, okay? If not, we'll donate it. I'm sure it can't be that much, but can't believe we can't give away a Kambosos and Haney scarf. But if you don't want it, that's cool. I'll give it out. But good call, though, in Europe. But I'll do the costing for Europe and we'll see how we go. So the T-shirt's gone. All right, the glove. Who did he beat on Ash Wednesday? If you're not from Australia, by the way, it was the biggest bushfires ever in Australia. They've called it Ash Wednesday. Like super hot day, and it's gone down in infamy as the probably the worst day ever. And Australia's had a lot of bad bushfires over the years. Barry Michael fought him in Melbourne Town Hall in about 40-degree heat. Lester is incorrect there. Lou Pitt 69 and Greg as well. All right, so there it is. If you can't get it, I'll think of another question. We'll give it another minute or two, and we'll get another one there. But yeah, Barry Michael. Andy says, why the hell was I thinking Kyle Noonan? Didn't even put one up the other three. Yeah, Nick Noonan boy, Noonan. I need the last name though, Luke. You've got Frank there. Who was the last name? Frank. I'm sure you're going to get it here. Well, that is the glove. Yes, Frank Ropus is correct. Luke, I'm not sure whether I've seen you on this show before, but you've come in here and got every single question right. You've just been one of those viewers that are in the lurking in the shadows. Nah, Ruben Carter's incorrect, Andrew, sorry. That was a little bit after that, but it took place. Yep, Luke is right. So I'm going to bring him up on here. I hope I've got that right. But yeah, it was Ash Wednesday. And it was David Jenkins. Agree with you about fighters carrying on. And I'll bring that up there. When I was a kid, we used to talk about the loudmouth Yanks. Nowadays, I'm sure the Yanks talk about us and foul-mouth Aussies. Yeah, look, I was just not trying to just pinpoint Mark Sleeves here. But as I said, I must admit, I wasn't that upset that he got knocked out or stopped by Rocky Ogden because of the way he was carrying on. But as I said, he's obviously learnt from that fight, and it was a lot better in his last one. So that took place. We got a date there. Frank Ropus. There you go. February 16th, 1983. 40 years ago. All right. Luke says he'll take the glove. Happy to do that. All right, mate. So that's the glove there. As I said, signed by Barry, Lester Ellis, Daniel Gill, Jason Maloney, and Nadal Skinny Hussein. So collector's item, that one is there. And I think it's worth, about $250. So that's sort of what the glove's worth. But all the signatures, I'm sure, to be worth a lot more than that. So there you go. All right. Congratulations to Luke, who got the glove. Larry got the scarf. Larry, again, let me know if you don't. Jay Brown says Alphonse Gangitano. Well, that's another point, isn't it? That Alphonse Gangitano took a bit of a chunk of Barry's cheek after he beat Lester Ellis because he must have lost a lot of money. So the shirt goes to, was that Luke as well? And the glove. So should have made the questions a bit harder, and the scarf to Larry. All right. Well, I think that's about it there, guys. One thing I think I said we are going to do, we didn't sort of get a chance to address it tonight, but the question situation next year, we'll be back at probably the end of January, start of February. But if you want to DM the Boxing Deep Dive Instagram page, any questions or points you want to bring up, just as I said at the start, we get a lot of people that listen on Spotify after this that might just want to have a point or a question they want to put into the chat, and we can talk about that as well and answer any questions that they might have. So congratulations again to Luke. You are the man. You know your boxing, no doubt about that. All right, to everyone else here, thanks again. I really appreciate all your support during the year for 2023. Each week our numbers are growing all the time. And while we don't have 1 million subscribers, we have a really good group of people that follow the channel, and I really appreciate that. We'll keep a lookout too for the announcement of Tszyu's fight, if it is going to be early in March. One thing we are going to be doing that just to sort of get a little bit of a head start. When Tim fights in March or around March, whatever it's going to be, we are going to be doing the Boxing Deep Dive Touring Party. So if you're out there at the moment and maybe you don't have anyone to go with, or you're contemplating will I go or whether I won't go because you haven't got anyone to go with, or you're unsure of the costing, all that sort of stuff, then we will have the Boxing Deep Dive Touring Party. And what I mean by that is, if you've got no one to go with or you're unsure, then you can come with us. Not to say you've got to hang with us all the time, but you will be able to come over to Vegas, or it looks like it's going to be Vegas. Come over with us or meet us there, whatever it might be. Anyone, it's open to anyone. You can meet us, and you've just got someone to hang with and show you around and whatever it might be. So if you're contemplating going, then keep a lookout for the Boxing Deep Dive Team Tszyu Touring Party 2024 coming at you for the Las Vegas jaunt to Sin City. All right. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it again. And till probably the end of January, early February, again, really appreciate you all tuning in. Hope you have a great Christmas, and we'll see you in 2024.